It's time for cash tags. It's time to hit social media. We got Megan Brantley, the VP of Research at LikeFolio.com with us as well. Evelyn, we're talking some Stitch Fix.
Stitch Fix, yes. So I know that you might not be quite as familiar with this company, but I have dabbled a few times, I'll say, into what they offer. And so Stitch Fix right now is trading about right around $22 or so, and it's really not that high above where it initially opened up. I believe it was October 2017 or sometime around there. And so they've got as high as about $50 or so, and again came back down. But I have noticed on a lot of social media platforms that some people really seem to love these services. So Megan, I'm wondering what your data is showing you.
So whenever we're looking at Stitch Fix today, we're actually looking at mentions. We found that this is a really good metric to use, just general consumer buzz for the product. And what you can see, we were going into this quarter and they recently launched their service into the UK. And so we were looking for an uptick. You want to see, more buzz about the product. And we're actually showing some weakness this quarter. It's down about 20% year over year. And so that's a little bit concerning. However, in the same time frame, the stock is down pretty significantly since the end of quarter. So perhaps some of this is already priced into the mix, but overall, definitely not a good showing for buzz for Stitch Fix.
Megan, building on that as to kind of thinking about why that may be, is it because Stitch Fix was kind of one of those first to market players in this space, and now there's just so many different options of this subscription-based stylist model out there that they're just facing more and more competition?
I think that that's definitely a concern for investors. We see a lot of people who are talking about Stitch Fix who are also interested in trying services like Trunk Club. You have competition from Amazon. You have these other actual retailers starting to offer subscriptions. I think that Urban Outfitters is one of those. You have Nike even, dabbling in subscriptions. So consumers definitely have a lot of options. I will say that from a sentiment perspective, the consumers who are active clients of Stitch Fix are pretty happy. I think that happiness is above 80%. So Evelyn, that kind of ties into what you were seeing on Twitter, and that, for the people who do use the service, they tend to like it.
The people who use the service, and also I noticed a bunch of people who were trading with the cash tag SFIX on Twitter. In fact, this user from Terra Financial said that Stitch Fix is a must buy at these levels. Both short and long-term investors should be all over this. Amazon struggles with a couple of things, and clothing is one of them. The idea behind this company will change the industry. I think it's kind of it's definitely a bullish claim, kind of a wild claim, I would say. I mean, I wouldn't necessarily say that what Stitch Fix is doing is completely industry changing, since, like we talked about, there are other competitors like Trunk Club in the space. But I like how it pits them against Amazon, because Amazon, I would say, has maybe more of the lower priced clothing items that they would be probably stronger in with this market. But I feel like Stitch Fix would blow Amazon completely out of the water.
And Megan, that kind of builds on what I was asking, I guess, is maybe the idea does change the industry, but is Stitch Fix the only company executing on this idea? We talk about Roku with you guys all the time and how that company's executing right now, but who is going to step in and maybe do something? So not to go off track, but just because you have the right idea doesn't mean you're going to be the only one who benefits from that idea. And looking at your data, still, well over, I believe it's like 8,000 mentions that you're seeing on this stock for the quarter is still strong, but it's not where it was. And the stock price certainly wasn't where it was either.
Exactly. I think, normally if we saw this data, we'd be coming in and we'd be like, man, this is looking like it's setting up really bearish, but the stock activity kind of makes us wonder if it's already priced in. I think that in general, Stitch Fix, the market's very niche, and they've shown decelerating growth, or they're decreasing that user growth. Where they're increasing is the average ticket size per client. And so our data isn't necessarily going to capture that portion of revenue if the same client is spending more money. But what we do see is that there's not a strong perception of user growth. And I think that, if investors are expecting that, especially as they expand into the UK and they're, going international, that may be disappointing. But, maybe the expectations are just so low that any user growth is going to be received well.
And also on top of the other competitors that they face within the same space, there are industry shifts within the whole retail segment and consumer trends right now with the whole rental services becoming really popular. We saw that come out of the Anthropologie brand, or Urban Outfitters, pardon me. And then also I believe Ann Taylor Loft is also launching their own rental service. And so I think that's really what Stitch Fix is up against right now too, whether or not people want to actually buy these clothes that are being shipped to their homes or just rent them and send them back. But this next tweet that I have from Vlada Gelman, she says, I found Stitch Fix to be hit and miss. Got a good box once, then the next one was full of stuff I said in my note that I didn't want. And they would never send me specific items I liked on social media. Also, I thought the items were kind of pricey for the quality level. And that last thing there, Megan, is what I want to ask you about, because that's a trend that I kept seeing on social media, despite whether or not people really like the service. They would say that some of these items, the quality didn't necessarily match up to the higher price tag. Do you think that affects this business model?
I think that that's really valid. I think there are a lot of tweets of people talking about it feeling expensive. Some users, obviously, they like the personalization. They're willing to pay for someone to style them and to not have to deal with the hassle of going and picking out things and just being able to depend on that. But I think that that's definitely key, that if there are other options that are perceived as high quality and still affordable, they could, lose some of that momentum. And that may be what we're seeing right now.
Yeah, and Megan, kind of coming back and summing this all up, we do have earnings coming out after the close today, so we're going to get a little bit more information. But looking at your data, if we're comparing it to quarter over quarter or even year over year, same quarter, it doesn't look great. But if you look at where the stock was when it first came to market in November of 2017, if you compare back to there, the stock's grown on your chart pretty significantly from that point. But we haven't gone all that far in terms of stock price. So to me, this could be a situation where, although your data, as you said, is lagging a little bit, the stock price is lagging more.
Yeah, I think that you nailed it. That's kind of what we're watching right now and what we're expecting going into earnings.
Alrighty, and then the last point too, as you said, this is more about people talking about it. 80% happiness, even in spite of kind of what Evelyn pointed out on that tweet that she saw. That's probably going to fall into the 20% category of the unhappy candidates there. But you mentioned something about the average ticket size, and if they're able to grow that, that's something that you're not going to see within your data either. So that's more information that we're going to get after this earnings release. But if they're able to grow there, there's certainly a possibility to grow revenue even with less customers. So we'll continue to monitor this, and we got to leave it there.
Yeah, that's awesome. Thanks, guys.
Yep, thanks, Megan.